Hey everybody, welcome back to the Pixel Junkies podcast.
Hey, hey.
Number 116. How you doing, Adam?
We're one away from the Halo podcast.
We're one away, and we won't be doing one next week.
No.
You won't be here.
And nor the week after that.
Nor the week after. Yeah, 2 weeks. You're gone for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, you'll have to wait on that Halo podcast then, because Adam's gone to Hawaii.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm going there not to relax, and I'm not there for relax. I'm not there for rest either.
You're not there for rest? What
no,
do you go there for?
Business. This is a business
I
trip
see,
with
okay.
business executives. We're going to be doing business.
You're going there. It's
no fun, just business.
It's what do you call those? Like a scouting mission for Pixel Junkies or whatever?
No, it's not Pixel Junkies related. It's just business. The business is
just
business. Yeah.
Oh, thanks for hitting my car, dude.
This is business.
So we're playing the new Forza expansion, which is the Hot Wheels pack. Whatever.
Actual Hot Wheels as opposed to GTA Hot Wheels,
actually,
which is more like warm tires.
Yeah, warm tires. Is it literally actual brand name Hot Wheels?
By
you can see it.
Mattel.
Well, the logo was in the corner for a second, but our camera's in front of it. It doesn't matter. What?
Making a lot of racket, isn't it?
Well, it was vibrating. Yeah, let's get a vibrate thing out.
Okay.
Anyway, I tried for an hour and a half to get this to run. I don't know what Microsoft did in the most recent update for Windows, or even if it's just this game, but doesn't work. If you extend the game a little bit behind the curtain here, viewer, we run obviously this on a PC, but because we sit over here on the couch to record the podcast with cancer patient Adam coughing into my face. It's great that you have a cold and you're going on vacation in like 2 days.
Yep.
So that's good. But we play on a TV, so we mirror the game to this television that we have and play it on that. And we've done so for, I mean, what's the 12th?
Yeah.
For us? Literally our 4th anniversary is tomorrow. So we've done this for 4 years.
Yeah.
At this point, we've never had this problem.
Also, yay! Fourth anniversary.
Yay, 4 years. It's not hands. I don't want to get your cold. Anyway, so we've never run into this issue. It's never been a problem for us to go through that. And for whatever reason, mirroring the game tanks the frame rate. And in addition to that, running our recording equipment, the capture equipment, and the audio recording makes the game essentially unplayable. And I've done that with Elite, and I've done that with this game. Pretty much just waiting for you to come over so that we could record and set up and everything. It was just testing. Oh my god! Right.
Well, you'd be dead.
Oh yeah, but I'm Hot Wheels. Don't matter.
There'd be a Looney Tunes-esque imprint of you going through the sand.
But I'm Dinky. I'm invincible at this scale.
Are you actually Dinky?
No.
Okay.
Oh man, 2 cars I don't have photos of. So, we're playing this on Xbox, suffice to say, because playing it on PC is basically impossible. Andrew gave me some advice saying there's different settings you can toggle.
To upgrade the modem.
Well, you can change some settings in the EXE, except the EXE for this game on PC, because it's a Microsoft game, is encrypted in the registry files. So you need to find the folder, give yourself permission to it, then find the folder that's not labeled Forza. It's called like Opus GPU or something like that. Then go into that and find where the EXE is. It's like they're trying to make this easy. Just Microsoft, Phil. You already had an easy operating system. Just give me the file, put it somewhere on my hard drive, and let me do what I want with it. That's it. Just leave it. Like I think we're over piracy at this point. Are we now?
Right.
Piracy is like, I think piracy still exists obviously, but content is way more accessible. Digital piracy, Adam.
In Somalia.
Well, okay, yeah, there's the Somalia pirates.
Yeah.
Or the Samosa pirates. We have Netflix, we have Steam, we have even EA, whatever it is, access nonsense. Like we have means of getting content on a monthly basis, even like Humble Monthly or whatever. You can get games for really cheap. Piracy, I think, isn't really a thing anymore. We don't need turbo friggin' DRM Microsoft stuff. Just give me the EXE and let me do what I want.
Remember when the Xbox 360 was going to be a DRM machine and everybody reacted really negatively to that?
Yeah, well, this is even worse than what that was. The reason the DRM existed for the original Xbox One concept was so that you could share it with people. Like you could, I could include you on my Xbox sharing account as well as Andrew. So basically, all three of us would have the same game catalog, and so long as one of us wasn't playing that specific game, you could play it. So it's like, I don't own this game, but Adam does, so I'll just try it out on his account. So it's like you can kind of do that now, except it's locked out to accounts. So I can be on your account as so long as you don't want to be on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I would love that. Steam has been doing that for a while with family sharing and stuff. So long as you're not playing that game, you can do whatever you want with it. And I think that makes perfect sense. So I don't know. Get rid of this bullshit. You're making it impossible for people to actually do stuff with your games. It's ridiculous. This game runs, normally if I'm just playing this game, 70, 80 frames a second, maxed. And, now that it's optimized, because when it first came out, it was a broken piece of garbage. But if I want to, even just having Audacity open drops the frame rate to 30. Like, that's more than half for something that's taking up no RAM. Like, what is that?
Audacity's not even taking sounds from the... Like, it's only taking sounds from the game. It's not even
doing anything.
Yeah.
It's just a gray window that's open.
Yeah.
Oh, 30 frames a second. Fuck you. Oh, man, it's a T-Rex.
Why didn't you go into it?
Oh, well, I can go into it with the drone. And then clip through the geometry. Anyway, that's not
what... I can't enter it?
Well, you can't go into it.
Oh, I thought that was like a
That's
secret.
just biting the track.
Oh, okay.
That'd be cool if it was, though. Yeah, he's glitching through his mouth.
That's pretty cool.
Anyway, that's
are there like...
my Microsoft.
Oh, I feel like just because we're on the similar vein. Apparently, some dude on YouTube... No, I was going to...
Oh, okay, never mind.
Came out with a video. Wuzzy was his name? Fuzzy Wuzzy or something?
Is that like a nursery rhyme or something?
Fuzzy Wuzzy was a bear?
Fuzzy was his name or whatever?
No. It was Fuzzy Wuzzy was a bear. Fuzzy Wuzzy had no hair.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Just talk about your...
So anyway, he came out and he said, you shouldn't... If you go to make a fan-made game off of an intellectual property, like let's say you wanted to make Super, Yoshi's Island 2 or whatever as a fan-made game, he said, don't talk about it, just release it, and then, it's better to ask forgiveness than permission.
Yep. And
then a lawyer came out and said, oh, well, don't actually do that, because that's really stupid, because they can sue you for that, for a lot of money. So, and getting into that whole vein is like, why does... I understand, like, protecting your intellectual property. I really do. Like, trust me, I do that. But there's got to be some middle ground where if a fan wants to make put time into a fan-made game, they could... You know what I mean? Like, they can do so. Like, don't be a fucking dick about the whole thing. Or, hell, give him official support and say, yeah, we're going to release this via, on our platform. It's going to be one of our games, and we'll credit you as the maker of this game, and we'll pay you for it.
Yeah, I guess, and it just comes down to protecting your IP. Like,
I know, but
in some instances, maybe the developer has plans to do something similar to what you did, and then you're just bleeding, you're just having the profits.
But like Nintendo is never gonna touch, like when they remade Earthbound, Nintendo's never gonna touch it. They're gonna win the fan project when they fans were gonna make Metal Gear Solid 1 again. Konami's never gonna remake Metal Gear Solid 1. They barely remade Silent Hill 2 and 3, or 1 and 2 or whatever it was, and I do mean barely. So I don't see the point. Well, I do see the point in not doing it. Obviously, don't get sued. But if you're going to make a fan project, don't call it... Like, I wouldn't even make a fan project. I'd just say, I do like the Shovel Knight thing or the ukulele thing, where it's like, this is an homage to that style of game, as opposed to, this is Banjo-Kazooie 3 or whatever.
Yeah, well, to be fair, though, in that case, that was pretty well made by the people who made Banjo-Kazooie.
But they don't own the license.
Yeah. Yeah, so just make it something else. Make something that's like... So
if you want to make a Metroid game, that's fine. Just change it enough so it's not Metroid, but still make it like a Metroid-style game. Everybody knows what you're trying to do. Say, born out of a... Well, I wouldn't even say born out of a fan-made project. I'd just say born out of a love for the Metroid-style games of old. I decided to make this as a... And by the way, don't take any of my advice as legal, because I don't know anything, so...
Yeah. Yeah, don't be stupid with your stuff. Just if you're gonna make something for profit, don't base it on somebody else's IP unless you go to them beforehand and ask for permission.
And even then, a company can pull your permission for any reason.
Yeah, it's you're entirely making something on their word.
Yeah, which
like
can change.
in the instance where it's like, you know, it's better to beg for forgiveness than ask for permission. That doesn't apply to you know, very business stuff.
No,
like,
it doesn't.
If it's like, I don't know, you're taking pictures in a building and someone's like, sorry, you can't take photos here. It's like, you know, okay, sorry. It's better in that case to just take photos until somebody tells you to stop, because at least then you have some photos.
Yeah.
Whereas in the other instance where you ask first and they say no, then you're just an asshole if you take pictures.
Yeah.
So
again, don't listen to us when it comes to legal advice, because we don't know legals.
Yeah. For legal reasons, none of what we say here can be held accountable, because I said so.
That's not how that works.
Sure it is.
All right.
We're in America.
Also, nobody watches anyway, so Thomas, don't do it.
Yeah. This car's not fast because it's a rally car.
Well, you're on Hot Wheels, man.
I'm on Hot Wheels, man.
Yeah. So, we got a long list today, finally.
We do have a long list.
Finally, something to talk about.
Finally things happened this week,
yeah.
Believe it or not. We saw Guardians of the Galaxy last week.
Yeah, did you want to talk about that a bit?
Yeah.
It sucked. Move on. No, it's fine. It's a good movie.
It was good, yeah. I very much thought it was reminiscent, just because of some thematic similarities to Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
I thought it felt like Empire, you know, like you don't need to introduce the characters. We know the world. We know all that stuff.
Yeah.
Here's a cool story in that world, and it had a lot of like very similar plot points to Empire, I think.
It was a much funnier movie than the first one I found, and the first one was really funny, so that's saying actually quite a lot, but I don't know, the humor in this one, because you will get more out of this movie if you see the first Guardians, so I would recommend seeing the first Guardians before you watch this.
Yeah.
Just because you get a lot of the character humor.
Yeah, the humor is very true to the characters. Like, it just makes sense.
Yeah.
You know?
Like, and you only know that. Like, there's some jokes in that you would only get if you watched the first movie. Like, when Baby Groot brings Rocket the dude's eye, and he starts laughing, because that was a joke in the first movie.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's, like, even just knowing who the characters are before... Like, because some of the stuff might just come off as stupid.
Yeah.
But if you know the characters, then it probably makes a bit more sense. I thought it was great. I wasn't too sure about it, like, kind of after the fact. It felt a bit... I felt like it had pacing issues. There's some areas where it felt like it maybe dragged a bit longer than it should have, and then when narrative started happening, it was like, hey, this is a really cool plot point. Oh, okay, you're moving on to something else. Like, they didn't have time to... Like, you know, and I don't want to spoil anything, but there's like that, sort of that, basically that final act. There's a lot of, even almost like Easter eggy stuff in the Marvel universe that's like, wow, hang on now, let's stop on this for a minute and talk about this. But it's just like, here's a picture of it, and then they move on to something else.
By the way,
it kind of got very hard to follow almost.
Best Stan Lee cameo?
Yeah, probably. I thought it was pretty funny.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty funny, yeah.
And because funny enough, he's actually playing Stan Lee in this movie. So he's not playing like a janitor or whatever, but yeah, it's really funny.
He's awesome. Like,
yeah,
he must be like 94, 95 now.
Yeah. Now the problem with I've heard rumors that Stan Lee, and back in the day when Marvel was first becoming a company, was a bit ruthless when it came to, or not ruthless, but he didn't give credit, because Marvel was founded primarily by Stan Lee, Steve Ditko, and Jack Kirby. And Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko kind of... Now, Stan Lee, I'm not saying Stan Lee didn't do a lot of work. Stan Lee created a lot of characters for that company. He is the main... If Marvel has a main dude, it's Stan Lee. But Steve Ditko and Jack Kirby did a lot for that company too. And actually, Jack Kirby ended up leaving Marvel, ended up writing a really brilliant series for DC called Fourth World. but I've heard that there was a lot of friction between them, especially nearing the end of their run with comics, because Stan Lee doesn't write anymore, because actually he wrote one comic. The last comic I think I remember him writing was back in, like, the 90s, I think. And this is very much... He was a writer in the 60s, and he has not moved on, because it was very, like he was very... Pardon me. He was supposed to be writing this really, like, super gringy, like, 90s anti-hero kind of character.
Gringy?
Like,
Grungy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, that kind of gritty is the word I'm looking for. I don't know why I can't speak English tonight. And,
grungy cringe.
Like a Punisher type of character. Like that kind of, like that kind of really gritty, down to earth, like super serious, like no morals, that sort of character. And the way he wrote him, his internal monologue was like, "Gadzooks! The bandits are getting away. I have to spring into action to save the day." And it's just like, well, Stanley, I feel like you're not. I feel like you're not getting the theme here.
Gadzooks.
Like, I feel like if he were to write like a comic that was supposed to be like harken back to the Silver Age of comics, where everything was goofy and whatnot, he'd be perfect. I'd love to see a Stan Lee comic, but like have him write where he's strong. Like, don't have him write like a Batman. Yeah. Although that'd be fun if he wrote Batman. Just like
a version of Batman. It works in that sense when it's a version of something and not the thing. Right. Like,
it would not have... Although apparently DC had a thing for a while. I can't remember what it was, where it was Stan Lee writes blank. And so they had Stan Lee write one-shots intros for each of their big characters. So if Stan Lee writes Batman, he's like, here's the basis of this character. You have to flesh him out and write a story around him. And he's like, can do. And there were some really interesting choices when it came to like how he designed some of those characters and stuff. Like, I think Batman ended up making a deal with some sort of like quasi mystical being, and he actually had bat powers and stuff. And it was like, right on there, Steve, or Stan, or whatever your name is.
Steve Lee.
Yeah.
Oh my God, this is so wet.
Anyway, getting back to Guardians.
Yeah.
I really liked the movie. The action wasn't nearly as actiony as last time, but it was more focused on character, and I think to the movie's credit. All right.
Didn't really work out as well as I wanted it to.
What?
Try this again. Nope. All right. Trying to push him without screwing me, but it ended up screwing me. Yeah. It definitely had action. It's like the narrative didn't focus on it. It's like there's action happening in the background.
Yeah. Like the intro to this movie is even. I mean, I know Guardians 1 has a really great intro where he's just singing the song by the Redbones. I forget what it is. Do 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 do.
Come and get your love.
Yeah. Come and get your love. I don't know what the name is. I think that's it. Okay. But this one, I mean, it's something similar, but it's way better. And I won't spoil what it is because it's pretty fun. But yeah.
Yeah.
And all the actors were really freaking Drax is awesome in this movie. He's really funny. Yeah. It's almost like Grog if you watch Critical Role, if you know what I mean. He's like the Grog of the group.
Yeah, he misinterprets everything.
Yeah.
That's great. God damn it, it's so wet.
That's what she said.
Well, you know what? It's fucking turn 10 in Playground Games. You know damn well they went and made plastic wet and then somehow recorded what it's like and put that in the game. So I'm driving the friggin' Ferrari on wet plastic. It's like, Jesus. Oh my God, it's a skating rink. Oh, okay. Oh, I'm gone.
So yeah, would you recommend Guardians to go see it in theaters?
To Marvel fans, yeah.
You would recommend it to a general audience?
Well, yeah, I mean, if that's the type of film that you're going for, I think maybe a lot of it will be missed to people who don't really follow the MCU, or maybe even because it's very cheesy. Like it's super cheese, but like that's its charm. And if that's what you want, like a really kind of cheesy, fun space opera, then sure, go see it.
Yeah.
But definitely if you're an MCU fan, because it's good.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it. I mean, it doesn't do anything super original narrative-wise, but
I mean, you're not going into that for that. I will say they do some really interesting stuff with the characters. Or like a lot of all 5 of the main Guardians, except for Groot, have great character development in this story. Drax with Mantis, Gamora with Nebula, Peter with his father. I feel like it's safe. I mean, you know he's in the movie.
Yeah.
Gonna mute that. Just close that out. Sorry about that. And Rocket with... Well, I won't spoil Rocket, but Rocket gets some great character moments too. And so does Baby Groot, but he's more of comic relief in this film.
Well, yeah, I mean, he kind of was in the first one as well.
And I feel like that's... If I have a single complaint, it is Baby Groot, because I like Baby Groot. He's really funny. But at the same time, there are parts in that where I'm like, this character's a bit too much. Like, I thought there were some scenes that drag on a bit too much. Like, there's a scene where Rocket, Baby Groot, and Yondu are all interacting. And I felt that scene dragged on a little bit too long. But it's not a big... It's not a big thing. Do you know what I mean?
I think I know what you're talking about. I don't know. I didn't... Yeah, I don't think it's so much that as that it's the other areas of the film had weird pacing. Like, if the whole film was kind of slow like that, I don't think it would have been an issue. But it's just... my main complaint is that the pacing was kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
Like, it started a little slow, felt kind of like, you know, welcome back to our heroes, this is what they've been up to. And then it's like, not much happening, not much happening, not much happening. Okay, here's all the story and semen explosion. Like, okay.
Michael Rooker is good as Yondu, though. Yondu, sorry. Man, I'm bad today. He has probably the best line in the movie.
I know exactly what it is.
The fan art from that is amazing, by the way, if you've not seen it. I won't spoil it, because it really is one of those things where, like, you want to go into this movie, like, not knowing anything. But, and stay to the end of the credits, like, right to the end, because there are 5 after-credit scenes. Yeah. One of which is story-based, and the other 5 are comedy.
I think 2 are kind of story-based. The immediate one is... I don't see what the point of it is other than story-based.
Yeah. And the other 3 are comedy, then.
Yeah.
I will say the last one is a comedy one, but you should stick around to watch it because it is really funny.
Yeah, I mean, they're worth it. They're generally... I mean, it's, what is it, like 5 minutes of credits? I don't know. It's not super long.
No, it's not long at all.
So...
yeah, so I would definitely recommend this movie.
I generally, like... I mean, even before the MCU started doing that, we kind of did that anyway. I waited around, at least for a little while after the credits, because...
Most credit, like, there's, like, the first credits, which are the cool ones, and then there's just, like, all the key grips and stuff that nobody cares about.
Well, yeah, but even the credits themselves were kind of interesting. It's 3. I thought the credits themselves were kind of interesting, because they had, like, GIFs in them.
Yeah.
They put, like, GIFs of characters on the side, which were kind of interesting. It wasn't just, like, black and white text. It was, like, you know, kind of 80s... you know, halftone printing stuff.
Yeah. This is the kind of movie that Transformers should be: lighthearted, fun, 80s themed action.
Yeah. It knows when to be serious and it knows when to joke.
Yeah, as opposed to Transformers, which doesn't know how to do anything.
3 hours of, oh my god, suck me off, serious. Whatever.
Alright. Moving on from Guardians, I suppose. Do you want to talk about something a bit sad?
Sad?
Two things a bit sad.
I don't specifically know what you're referring to, but if it bleeds back into the copyright thing we were talking about before
it
Guardians.
does kind of. Well, not really. It does more to be like, okay, so Square Enix shut down, or is withdrawing, shutting down. They're stepping away from IO,
auctioning off basically IO Interactive,
because of the failure of the latest Hitman game, which is entirely their fault because they're the ones who broke it up into a...
I wouldn't even say failure. Like, failure in their eyes from a financial standpoint.
Yeah, it still sold reasonably well. It just didn't sell enough units because you now have to push, like 100 million units in order to be considered even remotely successful, which is an exaggeration, I know, although not much of one. Can you be like a Hot Wheels car?
I can do that. I'll just go to the shop and find one. Yeah, because
there's a city.
Yeah, there's a city somewhere. I don't know where it is. Do the thing. I thought, in my opinion, I think the most recent Hitman game, the Season 1, is my favorite Hitman game.
Yeah, that's a big claim.
Well,
there's a lot of good Hitman games.
There's a lot of great ones. I think this one specifically because.
Do you think they failed? They shut them down because of the movie?
And no, I very much doubt. The problem with the other Hitman games is really not so much the control, but sort of the way it's presented, because there's a lot of ways to do things. There's a lot of ways to, I guess these would be under the Hot Wheels brand. I don't know what they would even be. There we go, Hot Wheels. And there we go.
All right.
Oh wait, no, hang on. I went into the hold on. All right, so there's these that are available. Let's go with this one.
That one's awesome. Is it
it's
fast?
4 or 5?
Fast.
I don't know. I've never driven it.
I miss Hot Wheels, man. Can we go up to Toys R Us after this, pick up some Hot Wheels?
Get some Hot Wheels. This looks like the fucking.
I think I had this one.
Was it the Monk 5? Or was it the fucking Speed Racer car?
I can't remember what it was called. I wasn't a big Speed Racer fan. Fucking the intake engine, Jesus Christ.
Well, it's a. See what they did here is they took like actual dinkies, little Hot Wheel cars, and made them like full size, real detailed things. You know.
Because I will give that to this game, because it would have been very easy just to say, oh, we're just putting in the Hot Wheels tracks.
Yeah. Oh yeah, sure. They've done that with a couple things. Even when Forza 6, they put 2 Hot Wheels cars in the game.
Yeah, and like they put the Warthog from Halo in there, didn't they?
Yeah, I don't know. I'd love if they went more this route. Like keep your main Forza Motorsport and stuff like that. Keep it all Turbo Sim and everything. But if you want to go like almost like the Far Cry Blood Dragon or whatever.
Yeah.
Make it something super. I'd love if they came out, and I said this before even this came out, if they did a like a super 80s like neon future city.
That'd be cool.
DLC, almost like Tron.
With
like,
Hot Wheels.
Yeah, well, even, Hot Wheels-esque cars for sure.
Yeah. Or like a Mad Max thing.
Yeah, or
That'd
even a
awesome.
Mad Max thing, something like that.
Or like both. Just have an 80s theme. You can like turbo, like put spikes all over your cars.
Look at this.
I mean, Jesus Christ, look at all the dials.
You can sit in the interior of your cool Hot Wheels car, man. How
I think
4-year-old do you need
we
to
said
be?
this last night. Me and Aaron were playing some GTA. We mentioned it then. Would you have lost your shit if this came out and you were like back when you were 10?
Oh yeah, these graphics.
Well, not even these graphics, just being able to drive around in Hot Wheels cars. Because I had a Hot Wheels game for the N64, and that was feces. That game sucked.
Yeah, I remember some awful ones.
There was like 10 cars, and none of them were good. Although the tracks were pretty cool. There was a lot of interesting secrets, but I mean, and I had another one for the PlayStation 2 that was even worse. It was like this big open world battle mode. But man, like, this is awesome. Like, fully detailed Hot Wheels cars. Anyway, so IO Interactive.
I was just saying that the Hitman games have always given you a lot of choice, apart from Absolution, really, to kind of just experiment with different ways of killing people, and it was super fun.
Yeah,
there was maybe as morbid as it sounds.
In that podcast that we did, there was like 15 different ways to kill at least one. You had 3 targets. There was 50 ways to kill at least one of those targets.
I don't know how you're supposed to see this thing. Oh my god! So I'll just look at either side of the engine. Yeah, and this game it doesn't really tell you like you can do this, but it will kind of guide you, as in like. Maybe if you go over here, you can start a new, kind of like a new option or new kill style, basically.
Yeah.
And it kind of just like guided you a little bit. There's a little bit of hand holding, and maybe the purists of Hitman were like, I don't like this. And yeah, I believe you can turn all that stuff off anyway. But for me, somebody who basically just went in, failed at stealthing 18 times, and then just ran in and shot the dude in the face and ran out again. Like, this is great for me because it just gave you so much like choice, and it kind of helped you learn or help you become like a silent assassin, help you learn the game and the mechanics and get really into it.
Well, there's one way to kill him where you dress up as like a statue of a mannequin of like a Renaissance era witch like a plague doctor with a mask. When the dude comes in to examine you, just stick him in the with a knife or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, you can kill him with a circumcision blade. Just funny. Dick blood all over.
I mean, fucking Jesus.
Yeah, and so I really liked it. It's shorter. There's only 6 episodes, but I mean, I've played it for like 40 hours, and I've only done like 2 or 3 of the actual maps. Because
would you rather? This comes down to like I mean, I know it's different for different games. But would you rather a shorter game with way more depth, or a longer game with way less depth? You know,
I mean,
like that's the debate
for
here.
sure. Yeah, I mean, I like this because it's not like a level designed around a specific character. It's just
A sandbox.
basically, yeah, like a reasonably sized sandbox, and then
But a good sandbox. It's not like the
Yeah.
Ubisoft sandbox. It's like, here's all of Africa, and there's nothing to do in there except for fetch quests
Yeah.
and collectibles.
yeah, no, yeah, it's a super fun game. So it's disappointing that Square was like, no, we don't like this. You know, they made 2 mobile games for Hitman, and of course the season 1 of Hitman, and then they went through and were in the process of making season 2 for a while. They actually just recently had a new studio as well. So it seems odd that Square were like, actually, fuck this. So
Well, I don't know what Square's
shit.
doing. Like, Square,
yeah.
like, Square's kind of like Nintendo, where I'm like, what are you doing, man? Like, the blind leading the blind over there? Because, like, what is Square known for making? What type of game does Square make that it is well known for making more than anything else? Other subsidiaries, Square itself.
Final Fantasy.
Like JRPGs,
Yeah.
Final Fantasy, those kind of games. So they haven't really been making them because they were like, or they tried to make them Western style because like JRPGs aren't, won't sell to a Western audience. And they're like, yeah, they have, because there's a reason there's like 15 of the motherfucking things.
Yeah.
And then so they made Bravely Default, and they were like, will we release it outside of Japan? And they're like, well, yeah, might as well, because it's all text based and very little. Well, there's minimal dialogue. And I'm like, yeah, we might as well. And the acting's not great, if I'm honest. But they're like, we might as well localize this or whatever. But it's not going to sell. It's fine. They didn't advertise the thing at all, and it was one of the most successful Square Enix games to come out that year. In fact, in the last couple of years, and it was so well received by fans of JRPGs. And Square was like, we were absolutely blown away. It's like, but you're a company that makes JRPGs, and you were blown away with the fact that you made a JRPG that was successful? What the fuck kind of sense does that make?
Yeah.
It's like when Resident Evil was floored Capcom was floored that Resident Evil 7 did well. It's like, wow, a horror game company making a horror game and it doing well? It's like that'd be like if like Toyota made a really cheap family car and we're surprised that cheap family car ended up selling well. Like,
yeah,
that's not something that's ever happened to us before, even though that's exactly what we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, who's it? Konami that's doing a similar thing? I don't know.
Well, Konami's not doing anything.
Yeah.
Konami's making pachinko machines.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what Square's getting into, because they've released a bunch of mobile games, and I guess nobody's buying them. So it's like, well, fuck this. Let's get rid of the studios.
That's the whole reason. Like, if you want a better explanation of this, like, watch Jim Sterling. Whatever you think of the guy, I think he has good. He at least knows people in the industry, so he has good sources. I like a lot of his analysis, although sometimes he gets a little bit high and mighty about himself, but I generally like Jim Sterling. But he did a really good, he's done a couple of videos about, like, why this generation of consoles is shit. And the reason is that, for some reason, the AAA market had lost all faith in consoles. And because at the end of the Xbox 360 and PS3 range, they're like, nobody's buying these consoles anymore. It's like, well, yeah, because you're coming out with the Xbox One and the PS4 like 2 years from now, and these games have been, these systems have been out for 10 years. Everybody who could have one has one.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, consoles are dying. It's all mobile games and PC, so obviously we're not going to be investing in new IPs. That's why at the beginning of this console generation, we got remasters out the asshole.
Yeah.
Because nobody was willing to invest in new IPs. And then like The Witcher 3 came out, and like Fallout 4, and like, I don't know, like, name a couple of successful games on this, like Uncharted 4, like these big games.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh man, like, people are still buying games on console. This is weird.
Well, yeah, consoles.
Even Destiny, whatever you want to say about Destiny, sold really well.
Yeah, I mean, consoles don't sell consoles, games sell consoles.
Yeah.
So.
Also, it would help if the consoles themselves weren't announced and lost all of people's kind of confidence in them because of the announcements coming out alongside, like, oh, DRM machines, and or in the case of Nintendo, oh, this console is generally shit.
Yeah,
Let's make a game console where if you leave it in the charger, it bends, and then when it warps, it scratches the glass when you take it out of the charger.
I like that. I like that it does that.
I mean, yeah. You have to be an idiot not to like that.
Yeah.
Also, you have to be an idiot to leave
Nintendo good.
You have to be an idiot to leave your Nintendo Switch in the charger for more than like 3 hours. So if you plug it in at night, you got to wake up. Just wake up.
Just don't leave it in there.
Yeah. Like, I don't understand what's so hard about that. Anyway.
So anyway, back to the root of the story.
Oh yes, sorry.
The re-abridged version is that Square was getting rid of IO, and for a while people weren't sure what the well, I guess even still now really people don't know what the future of Hitman is, because IO made Hitman, and because IO was owned by Square, everyone assumed that Square owns the rights to Hitman, and if they're getting rid of IO, where does Hitman go?
Yeah.
Especially considering the game was apparently already kind of far along in development.
Probably nowhere, honestly.
Well, apparently, from a few trusted sources, it's pretty. The rumor now is what?
Was Jesus one of the sources?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a few trusted sources from a German game site, and I think even it's a little fuzzy. I'll tell you the details. They basically said that they believe IO still retains the rights to Hitman, because if you're Square at this point and you've seen the last 3 Hitman games, 2 of them being little mobile games, and I guess did they make Absolution as well? They might have been responsible for that.
Wow, you almost didn't make that.
In this one, I guess they were like, Hitman's not doing that great. We don't need it anymore.
Yeah.
And instead of just saying, we'll cancel the game and IO, you can work on this game now, because that's usually what you would do with a studio that's under your control. You wouldn't just get rid of them. You would say, cancel that project, work on this.
Yeah.
Make this mobile game.
Instead, make this World War, futuristic shooter into a World War I shooter, because we need to compete.
But instead, they said, let's get rid of IO. And again, if you're Square, IO is worth more if you sell them with an IP that they've pioneered since the beginning. So I very much think, based on this semi-trustable source, according to this website, that IO are still making Hitman Season 2 on their own. Because even if you go back and read their Twitter, they've had a lot of like copy and pasted thank you notifications from fans. And one of their Twitter notifications was, we'll have more to say later on this, but for the time being, back to making games.
Yeah.
Well, so like, if they don't have a publisher anymore, or even an owner, what game are they making? Especially if they don't own an IP to their pretty much their only
That might
game.
be just their way of saying, like, we'll wait for the proper press announcement, and we're just saying this in order to make us sound like we're not worried about this whole thing. Could just be a public thing, but you're right. It could also mean that they're also working on a game. Can I make a prediction?
Go ahead.
I think there might be 2 companies who would buy IO. Microsoft would buy them, and I think the other one that might buy them is Bethesda. And a close second would be no, sorry, they're not. 2K around? Is 2K still around? No, they're not. I don't think so.
Is it THQ is gone? I don't know if 2K is gone.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I could see them being under either or, really. I think it's probably...
Microsoft would benefit the most from it, just because Microsoft needs more exclusives.
Yeah, I would say... if Microsoft is interested in IO, then they will end up getting them, because they can offer more money than Bethesda can.
Yeah.
I would say I don't want Microsoft.
Yeah, 2K is still around. 2K might also be interested as well. I can't see EA or Activision buying them. For some reason, that just doesn't gel with. I hope to God EA doesn't buy them, because EA has a habit of buying great developers, corporating the shit out of them, ruining them, and then destroying them.
I kind of
we saw that with Maxis.
Yeah, I kind of hope the Microsoft doesn't get IO. I mean, if I'm honest, I would rather they don't get a backer and they just kickstart their games.
Oh yeah, me too.
Because
but they're probably not going to do that.
The last few developers that I've seen, who have been successful developers, they're not just little indie teams on Kickstarter. The last few teams that have said, like, let's make this game, they end up making a really fucking good game. Like Elite, Project Cars, like the Shadowrun games. I mean, even like Star Citizen, argue it's not a game yet.
Yeah.
But you end up with something the fans want and not what a group of businessmen want. So I would much rather that they go that route if they have the option.
Well, a lot of the most successful games last year, I know not in terms of sales, but just in terms of like people talking about them, like Ark was one of the most successful games last year and the year before. You know what I mean? A lot of people were playing that game, Ark Survival Evolved.
It's big, yep.
Made by a very small team, so you don't need AAA. Actually, there are a lot of people who are thinking that AAA. I mean, some people. I shouldn't say a lot. There's some people who think that the AAA model is not even like a viable model anymore, because so much money has to be put into making the game that doesn't actually go towards making the game. It goes towards advertisement, and it goes towards, you know, this, that, and the other thing. And so much of the money that does go into the game has to go into like the perfect what?
Because I landed on top of the road above the other one, so I flipped over and I failed. I jumped too far.
Yeah, it's so like, and like it's the pure focus on better and better graphics. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I'm just saying, like, when you're focusing heavily on better and better graphics, it comes at a price. It comes at a much longer development cycle. Much more money needs to be put into the game, and I mean that's a price that you have to pay for top-of-the and cutting, bleeding-edge graphics.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are saying, like, well, if the AAA market is spending so much, they're putting so much money on individual games. So whereas before, like, let's rough estimation, but let's say before, to make a game it cost, back in 2000, it took $1 million to make a AAA game. Now it's costing $100 million. So it's much more of a gamble to release a game, especially a new IP. Whereas an established IP like Uncharted or Assassin's Creed or Halo, you know that the brand's going to be successful because you know people are going to buy it just because of brand recognition alone. Whereas if you were to make a game like what's a good example? Like, okay, like let's say they were going to make a game based off of I can't think of anything. Jesus.
Well, I mean, Hitman to be relevant because that's the IP they own, and that's got brand recognition.
But even that has brand. Like, I mean, a brand new IP, like a Dungeons and Dragons game. They were gonna make a AAA Dungeons and Dragons game. I know that has brand recognition, but not in the video game world or whatever. Or like even more obscure, Pathfinder. They're gonna make a Pathfinder game.
Yeah.
They're not gonna fork over $100 million for a game that might not make that back. I know it's not $100 million, but it's still a lot of money going into it. So a lot of people are saying, like, maybe don't have AAA games anymore, just have AA games, which would be games like Rocket League. It was the example that was used, like games that do one thing, but do that one thing really well. And
yeah, there's definitely like
don't agree with that, by the way.
A sizable gap between, like, you know, game, like if you want your game to be just a little bit bigger, your studio needs to be like massively bigger.
Well, I mean, we saw that with No Man's Sky, where a small company tries to make a game too big, and it couldn't do it.
They promised too much there. That was their problem. I don't think that was so much the...
They did a Peter Molyneux.
Their marketing in that they had none. Like, they were like, oh yeah, you can do this in the game, but it's like... You might be able to do that in the game now, post all these updates and stuff, but when it came out, like, this was promised stuff, and that was the outrage. It wasn't so much like what the game is. If that game had just come out, people were like, oh, this is a cool little space game.
Yeah.
But because they're like, it's got multiplayer, and you can do this, and you can, like, hang out with people, and it's like, you can't do any of this in the game, so I don't know why you said you could do any of this. That was the issue. But, yeah, it I think in their instance, like, you have, in IO's instance specifically, they have the first game done, the first season of it. They have all the assets, they have the characters, the animations, like, even, you know, the voice actors, they know who the voice actors are. A lot of this stuff is already established. It's not like they're starting from scratch.
Yeah.
And people already know what the first season is, so they don't even need to promise anything. They're just like, we're making another one of these. Do you want it?
Yeah.
I think that'd be great. And even now, like, Unreal 4 is free, Unity's free, the Lumberyard is free, which is what they're making Star Citizen with. There's a lot of great game engines. I think CryEngine is even free now as well.
Like,
there's a lot of great game engines that are free.
Yeah.
So
now you got to know what you're doing with them. You can't just Unity acid flip.
Yeah, but
obviously IO's not going to do that.
Licensing a game engine 10 years ago was
really expensive.
Yeah, it was.
That's why hardly only the big companies could do it. So that's why when Halo had its own engine because fuck licensing that. But that's why I think the Unreal 3 engine and Unreal 2 were some of the most successful video game engines ever because everybody used them. I can name it easily 10 different games that came out with the Unreal 3 engine. You know?
Yeah, it was a popular engine. So anyway, hopefully we do get some confirmation soon that IO does own it and that Hitman will return with Season 2 because that was a great game and it kind of ended with a cliffhanger.
So kind of in a similar vein to that, I've heard rumors that Bioware is thinking about shutting down, or EA is thinking about shutting down Bioware Montreal, which made the Mass Effect games, and is shifting a lot of the personnel, or they haven't shut it down, but they're shifting a lot of personnel to work on Star Wars Battlefront and get that up and running. It was
Mass Effect on hiatus, and then they're moving their assets to, I guess, a different DICE studio to work on Battlefront.
I guess.
Hopefully they don't put them on the facial animations department.
Yeah. Well, I think the reason that I don't think it's the fault of the programmers. I think it's the fault that the game is so big and there was so much going on that facial animation just got shunted down the list. I don't think that was the fault of the programmers, although it might be.
Well, it was the fault of whoever said this is fine, ship it.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm wondering why they did that because I think Andromeda sold satisfactorily, didn't it?
I mean, I know that I don't know what the sales were, but I know it got a lot of flack. I think it might have sold well. I think the sequel might not. You know what I mean? Because Andromeda was a game being sold off the previous trilogy. People loved, those games, the 2 specifically.
Yeah.
Well,
3 was fun too.
Yeah, it wasn't a bad game by what I've heard about it, but Andromeda was very much being sold on the reputation of that franchise. So Andromeda 2 or whatever they were going to make next, I don't think would have sold that well. At least it's just still very fresh in people's minds. So obviously, I don't even think it was on the cards.
Well, I mean,
for
to be fair, Mass Effect 1 wasn't that well received either. Mass Effect 1 had just as many technical bugs as Andromeda did. The fucking popping in Mass Effect 1 was some of the most brutal I've ever seen. You'd be driving, you go into the game, you get in the Mako, you drive for 5 fucking minutes, and the texture still hadn't loaded. You're driving over 1995 level graphics.
Oh yeah, but I mean, this is Andromeda had 10 years of evolution. People assumed it was going to be using
oh yeah, I'm not saying it's
a visually different game engine or visually upgraded everything. And that just wasn't the case. So, but yeah, so I guess and Mass Effect going on hiatus doesn't really mean anything.
No.
It could mean what was the example you gave?
I don't know what you're...
Well, the example I used was Mirror's Edge. When Catalyst was being developed, there was for a while there, Mirror's Edge was oh yeah, Mirror's Edge 2 coming out. Okay, cool, awesome. They're making a second one. I can't wait. And then EA were well, actually, this isn't what we want. We're gonna go back to the drawing board, kind of put this on hold for a bit. We'll mention it. We'll bring it up another time. And they're okay, well, I guess Mirror's Edge 2 is gone. And then years later, they're here's Catalyst, and it's again probably way better than whatever the hell they plan on making. So I'm kind of glad that they took the time to be this isn't what we should be making.
Now, to be fair, I can't find sales information for Andromeda, so maybe it hasn't been released yet.
Yeah, it might not be public info.
Now, to be fair, EA has said that the reason that they're pulling people off of Mass Effect is because they think a lot of their other games need they want their other games to come out this year to have more polish than Mass Effect did.
And it's probably a result of the reception that Battlefront 2 has.
Yeah, because
everyone's oh my god, the game looks amazing, and they're shit, it's not done yet.
Yeah. I think because that's the thing. I think EA was is Battlefront 2 ready to go? No. Well, the YouTube trailer just went up and it's coming out November, so Get on that.
Montreal, you're not doing anything. Get over there.
Yeah, it's like, but we are working on DLC and also the sequel. No, get over there. Help them. Yeah. I feel really funny. People show up with like Mass Effect T-shirts and stuff. Like, what is a Wookiee?
Oh God.
No, obviously people who make Mass Effect know what Star Wars is. Hopefully, at least heard of it. Like, I do not know this Millennium Falcon. Sorry for my terrible French accent there. It is the Darth Vader.
Hopefully they get a French guy to do Darth Vader in the second one.
So it sounds even less like that. Luke, I am your Pierre.
Pierre. Oh, he's probably dead.
I
in the
am
story.
your papa.
I guess he's dead in the story mode, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Comes back as a ghost.
Yeah.
I am Hayden Christensen.
That Lego joke. They swap his head.
Yeah, it was really funny.
Remind him that other wrinkly dude who doesn't have a name.
Yeah, so hopefully that's just the case. They are able to get back to working on Mass Effect. 'Cause I would like to see Mass Effect again, but could be shutting it down forever.
Yeah,
Which
wait a few years.
Yeah.
It's
Anyway,
you don't need another game in a year. Or
I
two
will
years.
say I'd rather Battlefield 2 come out and be really good than
if it's the first one, but with the sweet ass story mode, I'm all about it.
And also all the content up front, please.
Yeah.
None of that.
I think
none
they
of
said
that
it's gonna
fucking
have
nonsense.
free. I think they said it's gonna have free map expansions. So you probably won't get all the content, but I think it's gonna be free. Or I think they said there's not gonna be any. They said they were going to do DLC differently. I guess in that there's not going to be a season pass.
DLC worse.
All the map expansions will be free.
Also, was that a Countach behind you?
Yep. Fits right in.
Your car looks really good next to that Countach. So what other cars there are? What other Hot Wheels cars there are?
I'll pop into the garage again. We can win a Scuderia in this one.
Ooh.
Sort of, kind of on that vein
Is
of.
that a Dacia Sandero?
No. Might be. Maybe there is in this game. I don't know. Maybe they put that in this game. I can't remember. Alright, 40,000 skill points. I didn't do that.
Obviously.
Yeah.
And in a similar vein,
Yeah.
apparently Alan Wake's music license is up, so grab that.
No. Yeah, I couldn't tell if Andrew's being sarcastic about you liking Alan Wake.
I really don't like Alan Wake. I thought it was a really, it was a misguided horror game. I don't know what American Nightmare is like, but I tried to play the first one. It was like, all right, you're in a spooky cemetery, or you're in a spooky umber yard, and you're creeping through, and it's real spooky. I'm like, all right, I'm sufficiently spooked, and then far away pops out a giant saw blade. And it comes at you, but don't worry, you have plenty of time to react. And also, even though it's in the middle of the night, it's fairly bright out, so you can see it. And it comes towards you, and you're able to dodge out of the way. Oh no, look, a monster! It's like the same reason that I don't find Dead Space scary, because Dead Space isn't scary. It's a good game, don't get me wrong, but it's not a horror game, and I don't care what you say, because there's no horror game out there where you're standing on the edge of a long hallway, and the monster pops out, roars for about 3 seconds, and then waddles slowly towards you, where you can pick it apart with your gun that kills it in like 3 shots and cut its arms off comedically. Like, that's not scary to me. That's like, oh, that's a mild inconvenience. And that's the starting gun that does that. The starting gun kills most enemies in the game in like 3 hits. That's not scary. Good game, not scary. Same with Alan Wake. It's like, oh, this evil enemy is coming towards me. His only weakness is light. Oh, look, I have a flashlight. Oh, look, I've completely destroyed this evil smoke monster. Ah.
Yeah, well, I suppose if you're basing it on that. I don't know.
But it's a horror game. It's supposed to be scary.
Super spooky, scary skeletons?
Alan Wake?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a horror game. It's supposed to be scary. Look at the fucking gear shit. They had to take the roof off.
Yeah, I don't know how that fits. Yeah, I don't know. It's like I assumed based on a lot of the trailers, because Alan Wake I die, I live again. It's very Mad Max in here, yeah. Lots of skeletons and spines and whatnot. But like if you were around at the beginning of like the next generation of like 360 and PS3, Alan Wake was one of the poster childs, because it was like look at this cool ass game. Look at that mountain in the background. You can go there, and it's like,
but Jar Jar
this
Binks
is
was
super
the
cool.
poster child for episode 1. Doesn't mean just because
Yeah,
it's a poster child.
I'm not saying it's a
good
game. Oh, I'm not saying it's a good game. I'm just mean it's like.
I will admit the story might be good in Alan Wake. I
just
know.
thought it kind of had a spooky atmosphere.
Yeah, but it doesn't do anything with it because it has a spooky atmosphere, but I don't feel spooked because I'm going around. I'm able to kill all the enemies or at least very easily get out of the situation that I'm in.
I can see that being a problem.
Like, compared to Resident Evil 7, where, yeah, you have
the new one?
Yeah, you have a gun, and you can kill most of the enemies, or a lot of the enemies in the game with the gun, because there's the Baker family, which are indestructible, and then there's the mold monsters, which are destructible. But they use the mold monsters to perfect effect, because when you don't fight them first, you fight the Baker family, so you have a gun, like, aha, a gun, and you shoot the main dude in the head with the gun, and it does nothing. You just, like, alright, shrug that off. So you go from feeling powerless to powerful because you now have a weapon, to even less powerless, or even more powerless, because suddenly you're like, oh wow, this weapon does jack shit. I'm actually in a worse state than I thought it was, because this guy can't be killed, apparently. And then as the game progresses, you get better and better with the gun, and finally, by the end of the game, you're really good with the guns. The monsters aren't really affecting you anymore. It's actually a really clever way of progressing character.
I mean, there's negatives to that as well, though. Like, you can have an invincible enemy, like in that game, or in other games where you run away from stuff, like in Amnesia. It's like, oh man, I can't kill this thing, that's scary. And, okay, yeah, I guess in a way it's scary because there's this thing that I can't defeat. Like, Fear, I would say, isn't a scary game because for the most of it, you're
a super soldier.
Fully automated or automatic, assault rifles and machine guns and shotguns and grenades and slow motion to kill all of them. It's like, it's not scary.
There's moments. There's a moment in Fear 2 where it's in the first level. You come out, and you're shooting all the. It's like, ooh, spooky school, and there's ghosts and stuff. And then you get into like Ed 209 and walk down the street and literally murder like 60 dudes. And I'm like, how is anything a threat to me at this point? I just murdered I just murdered enough people to fill a school bus.
I don't find that stuff like characters that you can't kill. I don't find that, off the topic of Fear now and back onto games like Resident Evil and Amnesia, I don't find that stuff particularly spooky either. Like, I can't kill this thing.
It has to be implemented well. Like, I feel like...
yeah, I just feel like there's, like, okay, it's evident now I can't kill this, so I'm immediately not spooked anymore because I know the game wants me to play it a different way.
But that's why I think Resident Evil 7 is really brilliant with that, because when you first start to fight the Baker family, the father, you don't know that he's unkillable. You just don't have any weapons yet.
You get the weapon. It's scary for like 3 minutes.
Well, it's longer than that. It's like the first bit of the game is that, and then you realize like, oh shit, he actually can't be killed, and then you fight monsters that can be killed, and you're like, okay, well, can the others be killed? I thought that was very effective, but I do agree with you that I feel like the over-reliance on your completely helpless person in this situation is I would consider it partly lazy when it comes to designing horror games, because it's very easy. That's a very easy way. I'm not saying it's wrong to do that. I'm just saying it's a very easy way to establish dread, is to make you completely helpless. But here's the thing. What would happen if you were presented a horror game, where at the beginning of the game you were given a gun and you were considered fairly powerful, like you're blowing through enemies, and all of a sudden you get to a part of the game and the enemies can still be killed, but instead of taking like 5 shots, they now take 4 clips of ammunition to take down. And it takes all of your strength to take down one enemy now. Isn't that more terrifying? Aren't you dreading the next enemy coming down the line? Because, like, shit, that took up all my ammunition. I have nothing now. And that just was one guy. There's like 5 more in this building. Isn't that more terrifying?
Yeah, it's a lot.
Again, you have to implement it well. Obviously, you can't just, like...
Yeah, I think the scariest things in games are panicky situations that aren't systematic. Like, in Alien Isolation, it does it maybe 4 times throughout the 16 hours of the game that it is. And it's like, I think the most panicky ones are like punching a number into a keypad.
Yeah.
Because...
And then you hear the...
Yeah.
As it, like, lands behind. It's like,
yeah, as the alien drops down behind you. And it's like the way the keypad is done. It's not shitty controls, but it's like you need to manually punch the number in, and you can't... Like, you can look behind you, but if you do, you're not punching the number in anymore.
Yeah.
So you go and it's like, I need to punch the number in now. What's the number? Crap. Is it this? Okay, yeah, I'm punching it in.
Or doing that stupid code
or the code thing, yeah.
Which is stupid because like it's frustrating. But that build, I get you. That's why Alien Isolation was an effective horror game because it was able to use that to build dread and tension. And
like,
also like the
scanner with like the beep, and it hears the beep, and it's like, is it gone? And you pull out the thing, it's like beep beep beep, and you're like, nope, and it's like, oh, it heard the beep, and now it knows where I am.
Yeah.
Like I like that stuff because it's not something you need to do 300 times in the game. And that kind of stuff gets really old really fast because you start to recognize patterns and you start to recognize the mechanics, and as soon as you do that, any atmosphere the game has is completely wiped clean.
I think that horror games would be better if they were shorter, and not every game like this, but I certainly think with horror games less is more. Although I will say a lot of the reason I liked Alien Isolation was the slow burn that it gave. Like there are parts in that game where you're creeping along and you're perfectly safe, but you're like, at least in your first playthrough, but like, am I though? Because like you take out the thing, and every now and again, like the game will just like, so you'll see like the beep like like right overhead, like really fast, like you'll take it out, and all of a sudden you'd be like bleep 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 bleep, bleep as it like, and you're like, okay, is it coming in now? Is like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like I feel like Alien Isolation did a good job where, and I'm gonna get a lot of flack for this, I really don't like Outlast. Yeah, I don't like Outlast.
The first one I don't think is scary. I think the second one more so, but I think that suffers from
the second one.
The second one looks fun, but I've heard the same problem, and I've watched the first few hours of gameplay, and I can kind of confirm it myself, is that once you get past like that initial, here's the atmosphere, here's the tone, it's like, oh, here's also the pattern for how the bad guys work and the AI and the exact formula for our spooks.
Well, that's why I think that a horror game would benefit for each new area has a new enemy, and you have just enough time to learn that enemy's pattern, beat it, move on to the next level, new enemy, new pattern. You don't know what to do. That would, so like 6 of those, you know what I mean? So like just to say, so let's say you're playing like an 80s mashup horror game. So the first area is Freddy Krueger. He has his own mechanics, and then the next one is Jason Voorhees. Different set of mechanics. You only have a limited amount of time to figure them out. You know, like that section, you have just enough time to figure them out, and then move on to the third one, which is the Predator, or you know whatever, like Michael Myers, whatever, pick somebody. Completely different set of mechanics that you have to figure out, you know what I mean? I feel like that would lead to an effective horror game, whereas opposed to, even an Alien, where it's like, okay, I know how to beat this alien now. The alien is less scary and more of a nuisance, because now it's like, God damn it, I just want to get to this fucking save point. I don't want him kind of like, and then scoot up into the, although I will admit, one of the scariest moments I've ever had in the video game is when I'm like, alright, so the alien's gotta go back out that door and I'll be fine. And I just see him leap up into the ceiling. I didn't think he could do that. I'm like, oh, okay. So I gotta watch the ceilings now.
Yeah, that was a great game. That was a fun game.
I loved Alien Isolation. It was great. Can I say, I gotta make a shout out to probably one of the scariest experiences I've ever had in a video game. It was a mod for Skyrim, if you can believe that, called Clockwork, I believe. I'll look it up.
VR helps scariness as well.
Yeah, well,
as you'd expect.
Horror is all about immersion.
Yeah.
Like more than any other kind of story, really. Even more than I would say RPGs.
Yeah, well, it's an entirely atmosphere. I've played a couple of not even really kind of scary games, and you know, when you're playing them just on your screen, you know, with your headphones, it's not even close to the immersion that you get in VR. That, you know, because you're looking at a screen, you can, like, you know, look away or take even one of your headphones off, and it's kind of...
It's a darn.
Yeah, I'm trying to find... There's a barn around here. I'm assuming it has another Hot Wheels car in it.
There's a... so the mod is called... It is called Clockwork. And it begins... You get a quest... I forget how you get it, but I think it's a letter. And it's like, oh, you find it on some random traveler, and it's like, oh, I've you know, I've been waiting for my friends at the entrance to this mine, but they haven't come out, and I've left this note here in case they come out and they are able to meet the rendezvous. And I was like, I've moved on. So it's like, explore the mine. So you go to the mine, and you get in, and the tunnel collapses behind you. And once you start this mod, you got to beat the whole thing before you're able to get back out in the Skyrim. Which is a little bit of a bummer, but it's not a long storyline. It's about 6 hours, so it's really well written too, and well voice acted.
And it's fan made.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, right on.
And so you get into the mine, and you're creeping along, and you're like, okay, that's fine. And then you see a figure up on top of a platform looking down at you. So immediately I shot an arrow at it because I'm like, oh, it's a Draugr.
Yeah.
And didn't hit. And I shot another one, and didn't hit. I'm like, fucking mod glitching out. So I went up, and there was nobody there. I'm like, oh, that's weird. So I'm walking along, like, further into the mine, and I see the same figure off in the distance looking at me. And then I move along, and then the same thing is moving along. And then I see the figure, like, start to drift towards me and then fade into the floor. And I'm like, oh, okay. And as you're creeping along, you're finding notes where it's like, yeah, we've been in here for, like, a day or 2 days now, and, like, can't find our way out. There seems to be a weird thing that we're seeing out of the corner of our eye, and as it keeps going, it's like, it's stalking us. We can't get out. It was a mistake to come here. And then you get to the end of that section, and you pick up this item, and you're frozen as this, and all of a sudden you see this figure, this ghostly figure, rise out of the ground before you and slowly creep towards you. And then it cuts to black, and then you're given back your controls, and when you turn around, there's 3 skeletons. They're not moving, but there's 3 skeletons outstretched, like, towards you, and the hands are right there, and you're like, Jesus! Because they're right there. And the whole atmosphere of the dungeon changes, because all of a sudden there's all these, like, unmoving skeletons in really weird positions, and I cannot describe how terrifying it was, because I'm like, I don't know what this is, I don't know what the mechanics are. And then, oh, it was just really good. And then the rest of the quest, like, it's a huge dungeon, multi-level dungeon. It was a really great mod. But fuck me if that beginning wasn't scary. Like, I played it like 1 in the morning. I'm like, I don't know.
I was screaming. Like, yeah,
I actually did scream when I turned around. There was a skeleton there. I was like, Jesus!
That also helps, I think, the horror as well as unexpected. Because there's a lot of games where it's like, they're not horror games at all by nature, for the most part. They might have kind of weird atmospheres, but then all of a sudden you're like, okay, this is scary as fuck.
Yeah.
Like, where is this coming from?
Yeah.
So.
Like, there was a good example of that, and another really scary game, or moment in a video game that wasn't supposed to be scary was in Bioshock Infinite. You remember the scene where you kind of warp to the future, and you're in that insane asylum?
Yeah.
And you gotta creep around, and suddenly it's really scary because you fought one of those, I forget what they're called, the blind boys or whatever, the dudes with the big helmet. And you gotta, and because they were hard as balls to beat one, and so you're creeping around. And I remember there's one point where you're walking through, and all of a sudden you just see a wheelchair with a mask on it go, wait, and it just stops, and the mask is looking at you, and I'm like, nope. Like, I had a shotgun and a rocket launcher. I'm like, nope, I'm fine with that, thanks.
Yeah. I thought Vanishing Ethan Carter kind of did that as well. Because it's like, it had a weird atmosphere. It wasn't scary, but then, like, 3/4 of the way through the game, you get to this scary bit. You're like, Jesus, where the fuck did this come from? Oh, that was nice.
So apparently, just kind of getting away from this because we're kind of got off topic a bit.
Yeah,
that's
fine.
Yeah, whatever. New Assassin's Creed game looks to be set in Egypt. Which is pretty cool.
Some images that leaked. Yeah, doing all right away.
Yeah, sorry,
I'm dying over there. Yeah, so there was an image that leaked of a guy in a boat, and it looked very Bible-y, kind of Conan-esque. Anyway, so apparently that image has been confirmed now that it's Assassin's Creed Origins, which is the next game by the Black Flag team.
Which is good because Black Flag is one of the best received. Like, besides 2, I think it's everybody's favorite. Even though it's not an Assassin's Creed game. It's a pirate game, and you happen to be playing an assassin.
Yeah.
But
from the very blurry screenshot, it looks cool.
I mean, I think that's a game. That's an era of gaming that you don't really get to see explored all that often. Is ancient Egypt. You get to see stuff taking place in modern day.
Now you get to parkour off the pyramids.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, you see people, like, in modern day. Oh, that's a piece of shit. You get to see people in modern day, you know, explore ancient tombs or whatever. We never get to see, like, the current tombs. So, yeah, that's pretty cool. Hopefully it'll be set during the time of Ramesses and Moses. Well, probably not Moses.
Oh yeah, your gay Moses will be your buddy, I'm sure.
Gay Moses.
Yeah.
Well, let's just let my people. No, I can't even. I'm sorry, I can't. I just can't. Sorry.
He called his ass the Red Sea.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, speaking of leaked images, there was an image that was thought to be Red Dead Redemption 2, that leaked.
Oh, I thought that was R2D2.
Yeah, R2D2 image leaked earlier in the week. People thought it was Red Dead Redemption 2, but actually was a screenshot from a now announced Wild West Online game, which looks a lot like Red Dead.
Is it called
arguably.
World West?
No, it's World West. Wild West Online, which is being made by a Kickstarter
Very
team.
original name. I guess it's exactly what it is on the tin.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. And they were making it because they said there was no Red Dead Redemption for PC, and they wanted kind of that, I guess, GTA Online / Red Dead Redemption experience for PC players. So that's what they're making. So we have that game, and there's also kind of on a similar topic, though it's not on our list. There's been some speculation that potentially the next Far Cry game will take place in the Wild West.
Can't game companies stop doing stuff at the same time?
I don't know if it comes out for publishers saying we want this type of game, and then everybody's like, oh my god, this must be the thing, let's make a bunch of these games.
Yeah.
Or if it's, I mean, it's probably Rockstar dictating it at this point, because they pretty well own the Wild West game franchise.
Yeah. I mean, the other one was Call of Juarez.
So I would assume it was Rockstar putting out casting calls, and everyone's like, oh fuck, let's make a Wild West game, because everybody wants that now.
Yeah.
Let's compete with Red Dead, even though there's no way in hell we're going to be able to compete with Red Dead. Yeah, I'm stuck.
I really like the idea that
this is vertical.
I really like the Old West setting. I really like old westerns are some of my favorite movies, even though they don't really make them anymore. I mean, they make a couple, but not really. But fucking one of my favorite movies is Tombstone. That movie is fucking awesome.
I don't even know what that is.
You've never seen Tombstone?
Nope.
Oh my god! It's Val Kilmer and
oh man, Fat Val Kilmer?
No, thin Val Kilmer. He plays Doc Holliday, and Kurt Russell plays Wyatt Earp in the gunfight at the OK Corral.
Isn't that a buffet place?
No, that's the KO Corral.
Oh.
And I don't know, it's a great movie, but really like that setting, so I'm glad to see. But isn't isn't it rumored that that the new Far Cry game is going to come out the same month as Red Dead? And everyone's like, well, nobody's going to buy it because everyone's going to be playing Red Dead.
Yeah.
Which would you buy?
Oh, I'm not buying Far Cry.
Well, and there you go. I wouldn't either. That's two people. You've lost 2 sales.
Well, I mean, Red Dead Redemption is a fucking fantastic game, and I would assume this will be in first person, because the predecessors of the generation have always lent heavily into the sequels, regardless of the franchise for Rockstar. So, I mean, like that said, a lot of the mechanics in GTA 5 were directly from Red Dead Redemption. The arm wrestling, and even a lot of the way the mechanics work, the aiming, the weapon wheel, all that stuff.
Is this going to be in the GTA universe?
I would assume so, because Red Dead Redemption is in the GTA storyline.
Yeah, so
because your one of your ancestors can be John Marston in GTA 5
in the online.
In the online component, yeah.
And everybody chose that. Now everybody looks the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it looks cool. We only got a couple more things to talk about. We just blitz through them.
Yeah, we can hammer through them. Well, I mean, there's that dinosaur thing.
Yeah, so very quickly, back in 2011, there was a up in Fort McMurray, up in Alberta, Canada, which is a big oil-producing place. They were digging into the ground, and they uncovered this fossil of an Ankylosaurus-type dinosaur, which is the armored ones with the big club tail, called a nodosaur, and it was the most well-preserved fossil that scientists have ever discovered, and that's really accurate because it's very, very well preserved. You can actually see scales and skin on this fossil, and it's pretty big. You get the head and part of the back.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's a really well-preserved fossil. There's I don't know, maybe you can throw a picture up?
Yeah.
Okay. There's National Geographic did an article about it a couple of days ago. What?
That's cool. These are the little spacers that put the track together.
That's cool. Cool little in-joke. I recommend, if you're into that kind of sciencey stuff, going and checking it out. But even just check out the pictures, because there's a really big find. That's 2 big finds that we've gotten this year. Because the first was the angel wing, that dinosaur bird, the very tiny bird wing that we got in the piece of amber. And the other one is this one, which is almost even bigger, maybe even bigger. I don't know. But it's been well known to the scientific community, but it hasn't been announced to the public until recently. That's why we're only hearing about it now, even though it was discovered in 2011. So it's kind of a big deal. I like dinosaurs. I thought it was really cool. Yeah. Something else that I really like and is really cool, Paramore's new album.
Yeah, Paramore's new album finally came out. Came out today.
Yep. Have you listened to it yet?
I have, yeah. It was first thing. It came out last night, and I was just going to bed, and yeah, I'm still stuck here.
Can you just rewind?
Yeah, fucking. Well, I can rewind, but I'll just teleport. How about that? So I was checking my emails last night for some reason, right before I go into bed, and I got an email from Fueled by Raymond, which is their label, and it's like, After Laughter available now. I was like, God damn it, I want to go to bed.
What time of the morning was this?
I don't know. It's probably 4 a.m. or something.
Jesus.
Yeah. I was like, I really want to listen to this, but I also want to go to bed because I'm going to be listening to this for the rest of, like the next however many hours. Because I'm not going to listen to it once. So anyway, I listened to it first thing. As soon as I woke up, I'm like, Paramore, listen to the album. And then just pretty much laid in bed and listened to the album a couple times.
Is it good? I haven't listened to it yet.
I'm indifferent about it.
All right.
And that's not a bad thing. There's no negativity there at all. It's just because I hold Paramore so highly. Like, I love all of their music, and Nick Haley's awesome and all that stuff. It's like I can't just be like, okay, great song. Like, this is perfect. This is good. I'm kind of like, I gotta listen to it. Oh, okay, I'm just gonna fall off. All right. I kind of gotta listen to it, a ton of times, a dozen times before I'm like, okay, here's what I think about it. Initial impressions, I do enjoy it. I like the style and the sound of the album. It's definitely more Paramore. It feels almost more. It feels more All We Know than more of their recent stuff. But with like a...
All We Know is the first
their
one,
first
right?
album, yeah.
I don't know which is my favorite. Because this is their fifth album, correct? Because it was All We Know, Riot, Brand New Eyes, Paramore, and then...
Yes.
What's this one called?
It's called After Laughter.
After Laughter.
So it's kind of like an 80s inspired
like a Batman
album. Yeah, kind of with their, it's Paramore tones. I guess some sort of criticisms to it are maybe... I feel like the songs maybe almost lack a little bit just because it feels almost like they were written more for being able to play them in concert, like to be able to actually perform them live.
Oh, okay.
I feel like they could have done more had they just gone like balls out and just made the song, rather than using traditional drums and stuff.
See, the latest Metallica album did the opposite of that, where it's like, I don't know how you guys are gonna play this. Especially like the last song in the album, "Spit Out the Bone," which is the best best Metallica song since I want to say since Justice, and even then it's better than most of the stuff on Justice. In my opinion, it's probably one of my favorite, not my favorite Metallica song. But it is a really complicated song to play. And I'm like, how the fuck are you guys gonna reproduce this in a concert? Because it's everybody's favorite song from that album because it's really good. Yeah, and it's very like, I don't know, you can kind of see it. It's more of a, I'm not gonna say concept album. It's kind of loosely that. It kind of has an overarching narrative maybe, and that you can kind of find those in all of their albums loosely. But this one feels more so like Haley just airing out her dirty laundry, because they've had a lot of problems, that band. I'm surprised they even made this album, if I'm honest, because they've had a lot of legal troubles in the past couple of years with one of their bandmates, Jeremy Davis, who was one of the bassists. Had a lot of Was it the
issues.
one that she was dating?
No, wasn't dating anyone from her band, and is currently married to the guy she was dating, Chad from Newfound Glory.
Oh.
But anyway, they had some legal troubles with whether or not he was an employee or whether or not he was, a partner in basically the group that owns Paramore, which I think Haley owns. So she's kind of responsible for that. And there were some legal battles there, whether, paying him and not paying him and all that kind of stuff. And it got to the point where it was just Haley and Taylor who were still technically part of the band.
I feel like anybody else could really leave Paramore because it's mainly Haley. Like that couldn't happen with Metallica again, just because we mentioned it. Metallica, like if any of them left, really, any of the four, except maybe Lars, because everybody hates him. Not Lars. Fuck the drummer, whatever the drummer's name is, can't remember. If he left, everybody was fine, but that would be. But I mean, like everybody else. No, it is Lars. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it is Lars. If he left, I think some people would be fine, but it kind of like ruined the sound of the band because he's been with the band since the very beginning. But like, Haley's the most iconic part of that band, so like.
Oh yeah, for sure. I guess how they got this album on the go was Zach, who used to be their drummer on Riot and
Brand New Eyes.
Brand New Eyes, I think. It's hard to say because I think they had a different bassist or a different drummer on their first album, who was then replaced by Jeremy Davis. There's a lot of different replacement of band members, but they're like their key iconic drummer Zach, who left with his brother when he left, who was their lead guitarist, came back and did the drumming for this. So now there's 3 of them again. So it's like it makes sense, but there's a definite air of like, you know, everybody was against me trying to make music, and everybody like fucking hates me for trying to do this kind of vibe to it, and it makes the sound of the album is very like upbeat, happy, like very flavorful music, but the lyrics are very kind of like, my life is shit and everybody hates me. It's not like emo or anything. It's just very like.
But could be emo.
No, I think it's done more ironic, because like I'm doing this anyway because this is what I want to do. Fuck the rest of you. But the album just has a very, I don't know, unique sound to it, because it's not usually like depressing lyrics are paired with depressing sounding music. In this case, it's like,
so it almost juxtaposes.
Yeah, I guess, because it's like, you know, I'm dead inside. I should go under the water and hold my breath until I die is essentially like the synopsis of some of the lyrics, and yet the music is like, and it's like, this is such a weird parody that I like it, but it's kind of, it feels a little hollow, you know?
Friggin' Mario music on the go.
Well, they got like that kind of island steel drum sound, like and there's some piano in there, and there's some like synth stuff, and it sounds really cool. I like the album, and I like. Okay.
All right.
I like Haley's lyrics and the way that she's kind of evolved, but it's.
I generally like her lyrics. One of my favorite songs of all time, and certainly my favorite Paramore song, is "Misguided Ghosts" off Brand New Eyes, which is that very acoustic song. I know it's not a lot of people's favorite song, but I really like that song. I like the meaning behind it. So yeah, looking forward to hearing it.
Yeah, there's kind of a similar track on this one. It's not, Haley doesn't sing it. I don't know who's singing it.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's Taylor or if it's Zach or if it's somebody else, but it's kind of like a poem. Like very kind of almost inaudible in the background over like a very simple guitar track. I like it, but and it's got a cool, you know, story to it. But it I don't know, it's different.
Well, I'm gonna be buying it.
Yep.
That and probably the new Gorillaz album, because I'm really looking forward to that one as well. Tomorrow, so I can have them on my iPod when I go on my trip. Just so I have something.
Yeah,
to
hell
listen
yeah,
to.
man. Definitely have something to listen to on your 20-something hours of flying or whatever.
Yeah, and is there anything else?
Not really. Just one of the last things, because you know, it's VR and I love VR. For a long time, there hasn't been a Valve-supported video player for the Vive.
Well, that's cool. I like the water effects on the.
I'm just going here. Oh, I guess this doesn't have a windshield, so it doesn't have. You can see the water on the.
That's cool.
Above the window, though. Yeah, but now there's a Steam 360-degree video player. So I'm looking forward to trying that out, because a lot of the third-party ones, one I frequently use to watch like movies and stuff, is Virtual Desktop, and that gets laggy sometimes if the bitrate is really high, so you kind of can't watch like super high quality Blu-ray. And some I don't know how extensive it's going to be, but I do like watching movies in VR, because like you can get like that IMAX cinema, like a big 3D IMAX cinema, and then put your movie on a screen. And it's like, man, cool. I'm sitting in an IMAX theater all by myself.
It's great.
Yeah, except
that's the dream.
It's difficult to eat popcorn with a headset on.
Yeah, I would imagine.
So, but that'll do it.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Podcast this week.
That's fine. It'll make up for not having one for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah. So I'm gonna be gone for. I'm not gonna say when. I'm gonna be gone for a while. For a couple of weeks on a vacation.
Yeah.
And probably 2 weeks gonna be no podcast.
Yeah, I don't know what the schedule's going to be for videos for the next little while, because
This is a busy kind of time of year
Yep.
for the both of us because when I get back, you're leaving the next
Yeah.
week.
Well, yeah, we can talk about it afterwards. But yeah, it's gonna be sparse because we don't keep a lot of content in the backlog, and glad I'm gone for 2 weeks. Can't really do a whole lot.
Yeah.
But
My
maybe,
apologies.
Maybe me and Dave will do something. Nah, that's fine.
But yeah, so apologize. We'll be back to regular schedule at the beginning of the summer.
Yep.
So
Yeah, you guys can manage.
Yeah. Recommend some channels to keep you sated.
Watch my YouTube channel, which recently topped 20,000 subscribers. Thanks, everybody.
Good for you.
Yeah.
I liked your latest video, by the way. I didn't get to catch all of it, but watched.
Didn't even watch all of it.
No. Well, I was busy at work. My boss came back.
Oh.
It's like, why are you watching a tutorial on architecture? No, nothing.
Never mind.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Also, there's a little-known channel called Rooster Teeth. You should check them out. They're pretty good. And Geek and Sundry, another ill-known channel. Give them.
Yeah, watch something on Netflix. Watch some movies. Catch up on some filmios.
If I can recommend a TV show, absolutely watch Mystery Science Theater 3000, the new one with Felicia Day and Jonah, whatever his name is.
Man, watch Better Call Saul. That show is lighting up now.
Oh, is it?
It's like it's 3 seasons, but fuck, they're good at writing. I don't know. Yeah, it's so good. All right, I guess I'm going this way now.
Shit. That was so fucking stupid.
It's just so well written, and it's like I don't know what they do with their sound design, but there's a lot of time lapses in the show, and like with the characters in them, and like the sound is great. It's like you can hear. I don't know who does the Foley for that, but it's fucking awesome. Yeah. The writing is great. The direction is great. Love the characters. Top show.
Bye, everyone.
Yeah. Whoosh. Oh, Jesus. And see you guys next week. Or not. Yeah, never mind.
We just had that conversation.
It's just a Forza habit.